All right, so let's talk a little bit about the election of 1800. So before we get started, a random fact that everyone should know. In the earliest days of America, the vice president wasn't chosen the same way it is now. Currently, a presidential nominee or candidate gets to choose whoever they want to be their vice presidential nominee or candidate, right? So, like, just an example, Donald Trump chose Mike Pence to run with him, and they run as a team, and people vote for them as a team. But for the first three presidencies, so George Washington's first, his second, and then, of course, John Adams' first, we did things a different way. Actually, I take that back, including Thomas Jefferson's first. So the first four presidencies. For the first four presidencies in this country, basically, this runner up or the person who gets second place in the presidential election won the vice presidency. And they quickly changed this following the fourth presidency. So after the fourth presidency, this was no longer the case. But in the very beginning, if you got second place, you automatically became the vice president. Now, we'll talk more about why that might be something they got rid of at the end of this, but something to keep in mind going forward. So, the Republican Party again goes with Thomas Jefferson. He lost against John Adams in 1796, but they want him to run again. And the Republicans choose a second candidate named Aaron Burr to run as well, hoping that he would get second place and become Jefferson's vice president. So they're kind of trying to rig the system a little bit to get, their number one guy in as the president and their number two choice in as vice president. Great idea, guys. Now, the Federalists, which are Hamilton's people, they choose John Adams to win a re-election. Now, John Adams has been the president for 4 years, but like the previous slide said, hasn't been the best 4 years. A lot of bad decisions were made. He's getting compared to George Washington because he's following George Washington up, and he's obviously not George Washington, so he's not really coming in out of the best 4 years. This is not going to be like a slam dunk for him by any means. Now, why does Alexander Hamilton not run? Why is Jefferson running and Hamilton not running? Well, there's a lot of reasons. John Adams is technically a part of Alexander Hamilton's political party, the Federalists. John Adams is older than Alexander Hamilton. John Adams is more well known. He has a lot of experience. So John Adams ran in 1796, and Hamilton is not going to oppose somebody from his own political party. So he decides to allow Adams to run. Hamilton would have planned probably to run for the fifth presidency, is my guess, if he could have, but of course that doesn't happen. More about that later. Now, he doesn't actually like John Adams, though. We're going to find out that actually he was kind of against John Adams. He didn't agree with a lot of John Adams' positions, and thus doesn't necessarily want Adams to win. This isn't good when a political party fractures like this, by the way. So when there's like one opinion versus another opinion within one political party, that's really, really bad for unity and is generally going to cause problems. But Hamilton is going to sit this one out, but he's still going to have a pretty big role to play from the sidelines as we talk about this more. Now, for our first discussion question, I want you to think about this. What do you think a problem could be with having the vice president be the runner-up in a presidential election? So when you're just basically taking the winner and the second place person and smushing them together into a team, how might that not work super well? Now, obviously, it didn't work super well, which is why after doing it only 4 times, the country got rid of it. So let's try to figure out, let's problem solve before we even talk about the problem itself. Why do you think this doesn't work well? Let us know what you think.